it's Drybear. Apologies for the double upload, but they gave us some new actual gameplay footage for the Season 1 launch of the First Descendant. So I just did an update going over all the update notes, the nitty-gritty details, and my thoughts on everything there. So you'll find that link down below in the description and in the comments if you wanted to go through the update notes. But this time we're going to go through the gameplay trailer showing the actual footage of the mechanics, the invasion dungeons, what Ultimate Freyna is going to look like, all of that. She'll be a nice addition to the game because she'll have a nice wide variety of firearm attack, 2 ability scaling, 2 crit damage, both skill and firearm, and of course a special weapon gives us some new options for playing, and I think that there's still going to be some exploration going into unique weapons for characters. Her damage seems to be on point, and hopefully she has some options for some really cool sniper-esque gameplay. I'm a little worried about her slow on her self-movement ability that goes slower rather than faster, like bunnies or VS's, but we'll just have to see once we get a hold of her how strong she actually is and where she fits in. Next, let's look at the season mechanic, and I think there's still a little bit of confusion here on what they mean by this, because they kind of have talked about the timed dungeons, like the mechanic of finishing the dungeons quickly to get rewards. It sounds like from the patch notes, it sounds like we were getting invasion mechanics at the start of the season, and then we were getting the timed dungeons at the end of the season. But this new trailer mentions that the invasion dungeons will also be timed. So I'm wondering if the invasion dungeons will have the timed speedrun mechanic in them, and then at the end of the season we will get more dungeons than just the 2 to have that. Like maybe that becomes part of the game later on, but it's kind of confusing from that. So we're gonna have 2 main things to think about when we talk about the invasion dungeons. Firstly, there's going to be a rotation every day, and it looks like it is gonna, so if you look at this here, you can see in the bottom left that it says time remaining. It looks like there's gonna be maybe a like 4, 5, 6 hour timer that we're going to have an invasion on specific things. The invasion disruption rate is going to go up, and maybe that changes these. But it does look like on the screen here, you can see that there are going to be parts, like specific regions that activate, and 2 dungeons every day will turn into an invasion dungeons. And then when you click on that dungeon, you will have the choice of going from either the normal infiltration operation on a difficulty or doing the disrupt invasion portion, which is probably going to have all of the new invasion dungeon mechanics, the puzzles, the challenges, the time related aspect to it. And so when you click on the disrupt invasion option, you're going to be able to look at these options here. And as you can see from this screen, a couple things to look at that's kind of interesting. So if you look next to my head here, it does have the segmenting that the special operations do. So all of the like gold Kuiper farming, the special defense, the neutralize experiment modes that have the waves, and there's like trophies and rewards that go along. That's the first thing I noticed from this. So looks like we'll be able to step in and out. Hopefully people still try to finish these. I think the challenge with special ops is you get people that leave early that don't want to do the harder parts, and it's harder to get the increased rewards. The second thing to notice on this screen is that all of Haley's blueprints are here in this operation. So Haley Code, Spiral Catalyst, Stabilizer, and Enhanced Cell, all of Haley's parts are coming from these invasion dungeons. Does this mean there's not going to be any for amorphous materials for her? Probably not, but it does mean that you're going to want to do the seasonal mechanic, the seasonal dungeons, if you're trying to unlock Haley. And there's also Ironheart particles acquired. I'm guessing this is how you level up the special seasonal mechanic that gives you the buffs. And inside these dungeons, there's a whole bunch of nonsense going on. There's, like Simon says, buttons to push. There's all these different effects and puzzles, and it looks like there's some special art, like they stitched together some unique dungeons we haven't seen before, or they used a bunch of pieces from existing dungeons and Frankensteined it together for some kind of interaction. There's all these like different, like you have to hit buttons in the right order, destroy things in the right order, stand on buttons, push buttons. There's all these different colors and stuff. So it looks like it's going to be a seasonal kind of like match of the day style mode where you have all these new mechanics to face with. You have to clear these pillars off, try to find the right button, push them in the right order. You fight special mobs that have different affixes and all that stuff. So hopefully it's a nice fresh take on the dungeons themselves and gives you a nice bonus going into the other hard options. The next thing is going to be the seasonal growth mechanic, the seasonal borrowed power mechanic. At the very beginning of the season when it starts, we'll be able to gain access to this, and this is going to be like a permanent upgrade, which ends up looking like it's going to be more like ARPG seasonal rotation. So we have our enforcer here, inversion reinforcer. This is a permanent level progression throughout the whole season, and I'm guessing that you get on that that screen we looked at before that had the inversion particles that you're using from collecting the invasion dungeons, that's going to be your XP for your new progression mechanic inside the season. And this is going to have these 5 categories as listed here, and you're just going to put points in these. It looks like these unlocks are permanent, so once you do enough invasion dungeons, you will permanently unlock all the buff options for these, and it also does seem like you are going to be able to make your build for whatever activity you're going into. So if you look at these hunt, attribute, recovery, survival, and season, you'll then given like a loadout slot set up for these different categories, and however many points you put into each category unlocks different buffs for your character for whatever activity you're doing, and you can swap it around, which gives you almost like a talent tree. So you'll have your descendant modules, you'll have your weapons, your weapon modules, you'll have your customizations for those characters, and then for this season only for 3 months, we will have our own specific season 1 talent tree that will give us different buffs and bonuses. They hover over these as they go through them, and we know that Hunt is going to give us some little stat bonuses. You can see max HP or defense, which is pretty nice, which gives you a little bit more they'll mess with your core stats is what these will do, like max shield. Attribute, they said, is going to mess with the core, like some of the more specific stats, like not core basic stats, but actually specific stats. So we see skill cost, fire resistance, things like that. So depending on your build, you may mess with more points in the attribute tree. Then they have recovery as one of their options, and then survival and season. And we know the recovery improves Descendant recovery. This is probably like HP recovery, HP out, HP from drops to keep yourself up, or maybe it is like faster HP recovery or shield recovery, that sort of thing. Survival receives a defense buff that activates under certain conditions. So maybe if your shields break, you get a defense bonus, or if you drop to 10%, you become invulnerable for a few seconds, that sort of thing. So if you're a very squishy glass cannon build, you may end up putting points into survival. And lastly, the season affix is going to be related specifically to invasion dungeons. They said that this is going to be only active inside of invasion dungeons. Maybe it allows you to complete puzzles easier. Maybe it allows you to destroy the specific invasion dungeon monsters easier, but it's going to be related to invasion dungeons. And likely you'll be able to freely reset this and change it. You will need to level up your inversion reinforcer, which is the progression for the overall dungeon for that week. So if we go back here to the beginning of these dungeons, as we look inside of them, every time you complete an invasion dungeon, you will get this currency, this iron heart particles. Once you get a certain amount of iron heart particles for that, you'll have to wait until the next one starts up. So it's going to be time gated a little bit on you unlocking all of the powers of the season. But once you have it, once you unlock these, they're going to be permanently unlocked, and they'll just allocate points to make talent builds for whatever activity you're doing, which, it's a little bit more straightforward than I was expecting. I think it could make some really cool opportunities, right? Because there might be some builds that maybe need a little bit more skill effect range, or maybe they need a little bit more skill cost down, and being able to have another progression system that does those things might open up some interesting build opportunities, right? Maybe you can remove increased HP and increased defense because you put all your points into hunt and survival in this tree, which means it gives you more room for some other modules on your character or weapons that you weren't running already. So that might create some opportunities there. And overall, it seems like these invasion dungeons with all their wacky mechanics are going to create some new opportunities for characters. And there's also seems like it's not just mobbing. There's like activities, there's like you have to defend a point, you have to find puzzle pieces, right? So it's very possible it isn't just a bunny dungeon, that there might be some other opportunities as well. Moving on to the surprise of these notes, Ultimate Freyna. So we do get to see her here. I'm not sure how I feel about her look, to be honest with you. I actually don't really like the base default. I'm guessing this is default Ultimate Freyna. She's got some weird shapes going on. They kept the jacket. Her helmet's kind of odd, and again, just like Viessa, you can't see her face. Obviously, this is going to be baseline, and you can apply anything that's a purchase skin, you'll be able to apply to the Freyna, which I'm sure lots of people have cosmetics for Freyna if they really like the character. And there's likely going to be a ultimate specific skin that comes along with the launch of Ultimate Freyna. But for me, I wasn't particularly impressed with the visual aesthetic of Ultimate Freyna looking at this right now, but I think it's going to be cool. I mean, 2 more mods for Freyna plus a stat boost is going to be really, really good, and I think it's also going to be, it's just good for Freyna mains and people who play Freyna, and hopefully with the new changes, she actually has some really cool options, and we're also going to get an extension of the story. They actually, in the trailer, mentioned that they're going to explain why her ability is called Room Zero Trauma. I wonder if it's trauma, not trauma as in like medical trauma, but trauma is in emotional trauma, like emotional damage for Freyna. But hopefully, like the way they're hyping this up with its own cutscenes, this might be a really cool storyline for Ultimate Freyna. But let me know what you think about the way she looks and how everything goes overall. I wasn't really super, like I thought she was going to be cooler with the trailer that we had before, but looking at this now, she looks a little bit more basic than I thought in general, which I guess could be fine as long as her cosmetics are good for the people that like Freyna in general. And next week, we're also getting the new Battle Pass, which includes the new Assault Rifle Ultimate Excava. And luckily, they did put some gameplay on this, which confirms the theory that I had that it was going to function very similar to Peacemaker, but you can see it here. And it looks wicked, man. Look at this weapon. It's got like all these like little like plates and scales on it that open up as it fills up. So it looks like it has like a passive meter that fills as you use it. Those things collapse when it's done. And when it's fully charged, you can release this grenade, which as you can see by the footage here, so if we roll this back a little bit, it does look like it functions just like Peacemaker. So if you've never used Peacemaker before, the new ultimate weapon from Gluttony, when you use it, you build up charges by using abilities. And when it's ready, it'll glow red. And to activate it, you ADS, you aim down sights, like so hold right click or hold left trigger. And as you aim down sights, you will then activate the secondary firing mode for the weapon that allows you to release this shock grenade that comes out of it, which I think is really, really cool. So you'll have basically a nice pinpoint sniper or assault rifle, which hopefully has very good stats. And then when you charge it up, you can release this AoE explosion as part of it, which maybe it becomes a mobbing weapon. I can't see it overtaking Greg's or Thunder Cage with just this limited shot, but maybe it's a good single target burst as well. We might see some options there. Next is the Frost Scout Rifle, this one here, the Frost Watcher. This one looks like it has a pretty high fire rate, kind of like the Wave of Light, and it does not only reduce chill resistance on targets, but also increases chill damage from abilities as well, which means that it is a great use for Viessa as well as the new Haley on top of it. And hopefully, again, it has good stats. It doesn't have anything special other than increasing that damage, but it might be nice to be able to use this and then be able to use like a Blizzard from Viessa, or maybe pull out a big shot from Haley to give that really nice damage bonus from it. And again, this one's not coming until mid-season at the end of September, so it won't come with the initial update next week, but it will be 4 weeks after that, 1 month later. Next is the new Colossus Battle After Tony, Gluttony as the option. This one is Deathstalker. It looks like it has its own special trailer that they're just going to tease slightly here. Like they just tease this fully made trailer where SCMO just gets on top of the Deathstalker and starts ripping things off. But I guess they're not going to use that until it comes out at the end of October. So this is going to be the final section, or yeah, it's the final section. This is going to be released towards the middle to late season of the game. No, it's going to be mid-season. So it's September 26th as this is coming out. And this one actually looks like it's going to be a little bit more engaging, more challenging, more tough than the normal intercept battles that we had relative to Tony. It looks like it's also a lot more engaging. And in this footage, now this could just be them showing off the game, but they have a Eugen for healing, an upgraded Ajax for defense, and they're playing really safe. Like they're grouping together and fighting together. It's very possible that the Deathstalker fight for this is going to be pretty dang challenging and require you to work together as a group and not just try to one cycle with lots of damage, which honestly I think is good for the game, but that could just be the display on the trailer, and it could just be that Glaze just going to walk up to him and glaze him as the way she does and do some cool things with that. But the Deathstalker boss fight does look pretty cool. But I just want to do an updated video with the actual footage that they released 6 hours after their patch notes to show off the actual in-game footage of these things. Let me know what you think about all the new updates going into the First Descendant over the next couple months. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.